For years, South African pay television had only one name. Its dominance was so complete that by the late 2000s, new players were pleading with regulators for a chance to compete. In 2007, ICASA finally opened the gates. That year, the communications regulator awarded 4 new pay TV licenses, hoping to break MultiChoice's monopoly. The winners were Walking on Water TV, Telkom Media, eSat, and On Digital Media. ICASA's message was clear: enough of one company controlling everything. They wanted fresh competition, local empowerment, and affordable access. The licenses came with heavy conditions: proof of funding, infrastructure rollout, local content commitments. And for most of the new entrants, that was the end of the story. Telkom Media was shelved. eSat pivoted into producing ENCA for DStv and later OpenView, while Walking on Water quietly launched with Christian content, largely unnoticed by mainstream audiences. Out of the 4 competitors, ODM moved fastest. Backed by local investors and satellite partners, ODM promised a pay TV revolution, one that would bring multi-channel television to ordinary South Africans. They called it Top TV. On May 1, 2010, the platform launched, marketed as the people's alternative to DStv. Packages started at around 99 Rand per month, offering international channels, telenovelas, lifestyle shows, and family content. For roughly 250 Rand, viewers could watch series like The Walking Dead, alongside curated Showtime and FX content. Top TV also launched its own branded channels carrying local and international series, including Puppet Nation ZA News, a satirical take on political affairs, much like ENCA's LNN. To reach townships, small towns, and lower-income suburbs, Top TV partnered with Pep Stores, the country's largest low-cost retail chain. Decoders were sold alongside school supplies and clothing, making access to television easier for families across South Africa. Within months, Top TV dishes appeared on rooftops nationwide. For the first time in over a decade, DStv had real competition. A quiet revolution was taking shape. Television for the many, not the few.
But in a market this tough, ambition alone wouldn't be enough. The same conditions that made Top TV's rise possible soon tested its limits. Top TV geared itself towards mostly entertainment in its infancy. Sports channels were few and far between, much of which were niche, and even with its own dedicated sports network, it still couldn't put up much of a fight against DSTV's iron grip with SuperSport. DStv held major exclusive rights to several leagues, especially the PSL. By 2011, the dream of Top TV was colliding with harsh reality. Less than 3 years after launching, its parent company, On Digital Media, was slipping into financial distress. And by October 2012, the board made the difficult call to enter business rescue. Top TV was reportedly burning through cash at a rate of around 25 million Rand per month by late 2012. The cost of content was a major burden. ODM owed hundreds of millions to international studios. This was also attributed to operational deficiencies, including high costs, inappropriate packaging, and a high churn rate. It was also said that Top TV's management lacked deep experience in the pay TV business, leading to unrealistic operational strategy and poor financial discipline. Subscribers weren't growing fast enough, and when they did, their package choices weren't ideal. Either they bought too little or too much, which limited Top TV's competitiveness. Because its subscriber base was small, content costs were relatively more expensive per customer, and the company could not leverage scale effectively. The competitive landscape was tough. Larger players like MultiChoice could invest heavily in content, technology, and customer retention, putting additional pressure on ODM. By the time business rescue was confirmed, ODM reportedly owed roughly 1.4 billion Rand to creditors and content partners. Key institutional creditors included the Development Bank of Southern Africa, which was significantly exposed. The burden of debt meant that without a major cash injection, the company was at risk of liquidation. In October 2012, ODM officially initiated business rescue under Section 129 of the Companies Act, saying the protective process would buy time to find a strategic investor. Chinese company StarTimes, founded by Pang Xinqing, emerged as their savior. In the rescue plan, StarTimes committed to injecting enough capital to pay off creditors and stabilize operations. Their rescue plan passed overwhelmingly. 99% of shareholders and creditors backed it. Not only because they preferred survival over liquidation, but because StarTimes' offer, though modest, about 10 cents per rand for creditors, was perceived as the only realistic path forward. On 31st October 2013, On Digital Media retired the Top TV brand and officially became StarSat. On paper, South African broadcasting rules allowed StarTimes to own only 20% of ODM. In practice, however, a shareholder agreement granted the Chinese broadcaster 65% of StarSat's future economic interest, giving it decisive operational control despite the local equity limits. StarTimes' capital injection gave the debt-laden ODM room to restructure. The relaunch centered on a redesigned decoder ecosystem, a China-sourced HD decoder priced at 599 Rand for new customers, with discounted upgrades for existing Top TV subscribers. The channel bouquet shifted decisively towards StarTimes' Pan-African portfolio, StarTimes movies, Bollywood, Kung Fu, and novella among them, alongside a 17-channel Mandarin language bouquet. The strategy mirrored StarTimes' approach elsewhere in Africa: high-volume, low-cost content rather than the expensive sports rights underpinning MultiChoice's DStv. Under CEO Debbie Wu, StarSat positioned itself as a development-oriented alternative. Affordable subscriptions, local language dubbing, installer training, and solar installation programs aimed at load-shedding affected communities. The relaunch also included a contentious addition. After years of regulatory resistance, ICASA approved adult channels, including Playboy TV and Private Spice, launched as a separate opt-in package. The move drew mixed reactions, with critics framing it as a revenue play by a financially strained operator. Despite the rebrand, scale remained the company's core weakness. StarSat launched with roughly 100,000 to 120,000 subscribers, down from Top TV's peak of around 200,000. Without premium sports rights, the platform struggled to compete for mass market adoption. The years that followed compounded the problem. By 2015, StarSat had issued Section 189 retrenchment notices, citing difficult economic conditions, according to ITWeb. A migration to a multi-transponder satellite setup caused signal dropouts and channel losses, damaging customer trust. The StarTimes-led rescue process concluded in 2016, with the company no longer classified as financially distressed, though My Broadband reported it continued to struggle with subscriber and channel retention. Tech analyst Arthur Goldstuck described it at the time as a slow-motion collapse. Top TV's subscriber base, which had peaked near 140,000, had fallen to approximately 110,000 by 2014. The end came through regulatory failure rather than a single commercial collapse. StarSat's broadcasting license expired on the 8th of July, 2023. Its renewal application was filed 4 months late. ICASA ordered the company to cease broadcasting by the 18th of September 2024. When it failed to comply, ICASA and law enforcement raided StarSat's headquarters on the 2nd of October 2024, confiscating broadcasting equipment. ODM was subsequently liquidated. StarSat attributed its difficulties to post-pandemic investment challenges, but the regulatory order stood. The collapse reflected an accumulation of structural weaknesses: limited scale, technical instability, the absence of premium sports content, and a critical compliance failure, rather than any single point of failure. Perhaps one day, StarSat might re-enter the South African satellite market. Until then, StarTimes' only remaining presence in South Africa is now the StarTimes On streaming app, offering live and catch-up content at comparable pricing.